Today, I'm going to unbag and take a quick look at Mrs. Thatcher's War, the Falklands, 1982. This is a game published by White Dog Games, which typically sources their games through Blue Panther Games as far as the components, but White Dog has a very robust solitaire game assortment, and this one falls in that same category. This is a solitaire game. It has some aspects of, or at least influenced a little bit by States of Siege type games, in that there are paths that or tracks that you are advancing on or trying to stop advancement on over time. Let's take a look at the back here. This game is designed by Madison. It is for one player, 1 to 3 hours, ages 13 plus. So as you see, solitaire suitability should be high, and it is a 9. It's the highest, and complexity is a 4. I'll reserve judgment on that. This, I think, is a little bit more complex than some of the other Madison games that I've played or are familiar with. Taking a look at the back here, we have, it is really 4 games in one. First, you are in a race against time. The game's 19 turns covers the vital months of April to June 1982, from the arrival of the British task force off the Falklands to the arrival of the vicious South Atlantic winter that will end your military operations. Second, you must use your fleet, its air arm, and your submarine force to establish enough strategic control in the South Atlantic to be able to land ground forces in the face of Argentina's deadly Exocet missiles. Next, your Harrier jets will do battle with Argentina's tough air force, get down to there, in the skies over East Falklands itself, trying to dominate enough small air sectors to protect the British Army on the ground. Finally, you will use your Army units to yomp forward, sweeping minefields, battling Argentine patrols, and engaging in full-scale battles for control of civilian settlements and the vital ring of hills around Stanley, all while battling politicians and the press back home. If you make the right decisions, your strategic objectives can be achieved: the liberation of the Falkland Islands from the enemy occupation. Failure at any stage means the collapse of the British government. So there you have it. Let's get inside. You got some example of the map here, and you can see some of those tracks, the counters, and then you have this other map where you kind of start off your operations, several player aids, and let's take a look at all those. This comes in bagged version and in a box version. I got the bagged version here, and I store my, I'll probably store this same way I store my magazine games, which is in a clear envelope that has a little drawstring on it that I or string you wrap around that I used for storing my magazine games. So all I have to do is bag the counters, and the map and the rules and everything goes in there. You also have this cover sheet thing or cover sheet thing, cover sheet that I'll put everything in and put that in the envelope as well. The little bit of a miss of opportunity here is there's just nothing on this cover sheet here. It's just that, which I think they could have put some player aids or the map or something else in there. But anyway, opportunity is what it is. Here's your counter sheet. This is typical Blue Panther counter sheets. Blue Panther does sourcing for several mid to smaller publishers, like Hollandspiele and White Dog Games, of course, and Catastrophe Games, and there's several others. But they all the components are generally, as far as the rules and the maps and the counters, are the same. And here you have your counters. Good thickness there, and they are double-sided to some extent. So see that. We have our rules here, which are 16 pages. We have some images on the back there, but the rules themselves are, looks like there's a lot of references here. Designer notes start on page 12. So your rules are about 11 pages and a little bit over 11 pages. Looks like it is dual column. We have highlighted areas in here. Looks like there's 14 sections from introduction, game equipment setup, appreciate the situation, Grupos phase, task force phase, Argentine air assets phase, British air asset phase, Argentine junta plan phase, air battle procedure, ground war phase, logistics invasion phase, specific headlines list, and then you have the designer notes. Really only 12 or 13 sections there. As I said, looks a little bit more complicated than your standard, States of Siege or some of Mr. Madison's other games that I have and have played. Font is relatively small, so there is quite a bit, even though it's only like 12 pages or so, there is quite a bit of information in there. Doesn't look like a lot of examples. There's some images, but not a lot of, I don't see any images for examples in here. And it's a solitaire game, so all these phases are going to be very important. It's going to be very sequential and following the phases, following the sequence, and playing out the game. And as you see, there's multiple phases dealing with the air on both sides, the ground forces, some political aspects, and the like. And then you have like logistics and invasion as well. So really only 10 pages, kind of dense or small type, 9.5 pages because the specific headlines. This is a phase, but it's not done it's not done in dual column. The rest of it's dual column, but now it just decided to switch to just long paragraphs. Anyway, interesting. So we'll take some time diving into that. Here is your player aid card, and it's on thicker stock, and it is dual-sided. So you have your detailed sequence of play. That's important. You have your air results, air battle results table, your ABRT there. And it looks like this is the headlines table. So this is like events. So that last section there's really dealing with events. Here is your kind of an operations chart here or map where you'll be handling. This is your strategic map. So you'll be handling strategic operations here. You have a weather table, British repair pool, Ascension Island. I had a friend who actually had a project on Ascension Island back in the day. You have your ground support tracks here, and then have all these different sectors here as well, plus your total exclusion zone. So there you have that. That will be on the table managing your strategic operations. Then here are your charts and tables. You had the task force engagement table, ground force modification. You have some, I'm not sure what this is. This almost looks like it's a track. You have your units not in play. And of course, this is one-sided because this will be on the table as well. Then you have your map, and your map is a little thicker stock, not about the same stock as the player aid probably, but a little bit bigger. But you have your entire map here. You have your turn track here at the bottom. You have your sectors of A, B, C, D, and E, the air sectors. Here you have Stanley. You have the San Carlos landing zone. Then you have these different tracks or areas with the, they look like they're tracks because they're numbers. They go 11 to 1 and 14 to 1. So this is, you'll be landing and then moving along these tracks. Again, that's reminiscent of somewhat of a States of Siege type tracks and approach. Don't know how close it is to that though. But there you have it. There is your map. So you'll have your map, this, and this will be on the board as well to manage your strategic and then your inset operations there. So there you have it. This is what you get in a box or bag of Mrs. Thatcher's war, dealing with the Falkland Islands War of 1982. Love to know your thoughts on this. I've seen some gameplay on this and have followed it. I'll probably brush up on that before I undertake this one. But this looks interesting. There's not a ton of games out there on the Falkland Islands War, and especially at a solitaire strategic level, which fits a niche for me. So anyway, love to know your thoughts on this, what you think about this game or any of the White Dog games or any Mr. Madison's games for that matter, or States of Siege games, or anything that's on your mind. Love to hear from you. Just keep it civil. Thanks all for stopping by. Take care and have a good one. And here it is, stored in the clear envelope, ready to be stored. However, I haven't punched out the counters yet, so there'll be some baggies in there before I store it away. But I'm going to play it first. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.